Hello, this is lesson 3.3, problems with two or more unknowns. So the objective one is solve problem with involves two unknowns. That doesn't mean we are using two different letters right now. We are just using one letter and build up on the base and then talk about the things we did like the chapter 2 when we do the equations. So here's the first one. So the greater of the two numbers is twice the lesser number. So in this case, if you look at the lesser number is going to be your base, and then the greater of the two is twice. So you understand there's the ones that we're going to be using. So what we're going to do is we're going to let x equal to the lesser number then we are going to let 2x equals the greater number because it's two numbers. The greater one is twice the lesser number. That's why it's 2x. The greater number. So now what we're going to do is we are going to read the next one because we already figured out the first part of the information. Then the next one is going to be sum of the two numbers is 57. And when they talk about sum, that's going to be adding. So that part is going to be x plus 2x equals 57, and that's because it is 57. Now when you combine like term, that will give you 3x equals 57, and then divide by 3 on both sides, and x is going to equal to 19. And then if you go back and look at it, the greater number is going to be 2x, so it's going to be 2 times 19, and that's going to equal to 38. So your two numbers are 19 and 38, and that's your answer. Okay, so second, if you have any question, please ask me tomorrow on this one, but in the meantime please try number 2 so we can check your answer. So going on to the number 3 says Lindsay eats a snack consisting of 1 ounce of almond and 1 oatmeal fruit bar. She is surprised to see that the ounce of almond, just 1 ounce, has 40 more calories. 1 ounce of almond has 40 more calories than the fruit bar. So in this case, because of that, the fruit bar is going to be my x. So I'm going to let, and that's called writing the let statement. Let x equals the number of calories in the fruit bar. Okay, then the next part is going to be, we're going to figure out how do you write the expression for the almond calorie. Well, since it says the ounce of almond has 40 more than the fruit bar, that's going to be x plus 40, and that's equal to the number of calories in the ounce of almond. Okay, so now the next sentence they are saying is if her snacks has a total 300 calories. So because it's total, that means adding them together. So it's going to be x plus 40, and that's going to equal to 300. And then when you combine like term and solve it, then you are done. So that's going to be 2x plus 40 equals 300. And so minus 40 on both sides, you are going to get 2x equals 260. And if you divide by 2, x is equal to 130. That means if you look at what you said, the let statement, let's call it the let statement, x equals the number of calories in the fruit bars. So in this case, fruit bar has 130 calories. And now figuring out how much is almond. Well, almond is going to be 130 because x is 130 plus 40. So that's going to be 170. So if you want to write it down, plus 40, that's equal to 170. So in the almond, has 170 calories. Okay, and that is your answer right there. Okay, so next one. I would like you to give it a try because it's almost the same thing. Hopefully, I think we'll go on to do the next one. Number 4. Karen is constructing a rectangular wall. So in this case, we're going to draw a rectangle shape. Okay, and then it says with a wooden border. Now border, that means all the way around the red pen mark. That's the border because that's all the way around. She wants the length to be twice the width. Length is to be twice the width. So in this case, your width is your little equation you start off with. So if I'm going to let this part equal to width, that you have to remember is a rectangle from geometry. Opposite side is congruent or same. So this is going to be W also. And then they say the length to be twice as the width. So twice of the width is going to be 2W because that's twice of the length. That's 2W. So your let statement should be let W equals width and 2W is equal to the length. Okay, so now what you're going to do is they say perimeter all the way around, or the border all the way around is going to be 30. So in this case, you have to remember, because it's all the way around, you gotta make sure you add everybody. That's gonna be W plus W, right and left, plus 2W plus 2W, up and down. That's equal to 30. And if you add them together and simplify, that's going to be 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1. 6W equals 30. And divide by 6, divide by 6. W is going to be equal to 5. That means the width is 5. And the length is 2 times W. So that's going to be 2 times W. I'm going to write it down here. 2 times W is 2 times 5. and the length is 10. So now this part is we are going to write our answer. And our answer is going to be really simple. Just looking at the problems, it's going to be width is 5 feet and length is 10 feet. That's it. Okay, that's how the problem is done for those kind of word problems. Hope it's not too difficult. Talk about is problem with involving consecutive integer. Now we talk about integers in chapter 1. Integer is just numbers -1, -2, -3, -4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and all those numbers in between. There's no decimals like a 1.35 or anything like that. If you're talking about any kind of fraction, it's going to be something that you can reduce. So it's, for example, 4/2. Okay, so let's write down some of the samples. So in this case, if you're talking about consecutive integer, example will be like 1, that tells you those numbers extended. So you have maybe 3, 4, 5, and . Or you can have things like, maybe let's see, -2. You need to put down because that tells you I have numbers before that. So let's say -2, -1, 0, 1, and so forth. We can have 2 also. Okay, now the problem is we are not always going to tell you the numbers. We are going to tell you we have some unknown number. It could be starting at 10, it could be starting at 20, it could be starting at anything. So how would you figure out something like that? So because of that, we are going to use the letters. So how do you write those things in letters? Well, if you look at it, I want you to take a look at the gaps between 3 and 4. If you look at the gaps between 3 and 4, if you say, hey, Miss Wiesman, if I take 3 plus 1, I get 4. If I can take 4 plus 1, I get 5. Now my question would be for you, what happens if I don't know where to start? So if I don't know where to start, this is what we would do. We are going to let x equals the first term. But if you look at this, that's going to be plus 1 to get to the next term. So the next term is going to be x plus 1 equals the second term. Because your gap is 1. And then if you're talking about the next term, it's going to be, look at here. How do you get to 5? If you base it on the 4, you add 1. If you base it on 3, you add 2 to get to 5. So there's 2 ways of doing it. But if you want to, you can think about it. Oh, that's just the second term plus 1 more. So that's going to be x plus 2. That's equal to the third term. And so forth. Fourth term will be x plus 3. Okay, and that's going to be because it can go on based on that pattern. Okay, then the next one, let's talk about those. So our consecutive integer, if you think about our consecutive integer, that is going to be just, okay, so now what you have here is, Let's put down some examples. Our consecutive integer will be something like, let's see, 5, 7, and let's say 9, and go on. You can do negative. You can do -7, -5, -3. You can even cross in between and do this. -1, skipping 0, 1, and 3. So now I want you to think about the gaps in between them. So if we are talking about the gaps between them, how do you go from here to here? You add 2. How do you go from here to here? You add 2. How do you go from here to here? You add 2. So in this case, your pattern, if we let x equals the first term, x, what is the gap between the first number and the second number? You add 2. It's going to be the second term. And if you take x plus, how do you go from your 5 right here to 7? You add 2. How do you go from 5 to 9? You add 4. So that is going to be adding 2 and 2 more. That's going to be 4. And that's going to be your third term. Okay. Now, because of that, we also had to talk about, we just talked about odd, we're going to talk about the evens. And the evens, you're going to take a look and you're going to think about, again, the gaps in between. So let's see. You have, let's talk about maybe, let's see, ... You have 0, 2, 4, 6. Then you also have, look at the negative number. You have negative, let's say 4, -2, 0, 2, 4. So now let's take a look at the pattern. The pattern goes by this way. Again, look at your gaps in between. 0 to 2 plus 2. 2 to 4 plus 2. 4 to 6 plus 2. But if you go from 0 to 4, what did you do? You add 4. Okay? So let's take a look. How do you let that set up? So I'm going to say, let x equals first term. The reason we keep saying that is because we don't know where do I want to start. I might want to start at 100, then that pattern still will work. And x plus 2, think about it. The first term is 100. The next term is you add 2 more to get to the even number. So you'll add 2. That's the gap. Equals 2, second term. Then you have x plus 3. equals the third term. Any question on that? So the next problem we're going to talk about it is using those ideas. So example number 5 says the sum of 3 consecutive even integer, sum of 3 consecutive even integer, and sum is addition, okay? Even integer is 78, okay? So now let's take a look at the even integer, and you want 3 of them right here. So in that case, we are going to use the pattern right here. X equals first term, x plus 2 equals second term, x plus 3 equals third term. So we're going to write that down. And then once you do that, they tell you what is the sum of it. So in this case, that's going to be x plus x plus 2, second term, plus x plus 4, third term, equals 78. Okay? Then combine like term and solve, and you'll be done. Okay, so 3x plus 6 equals 78. And minus 6 on both sides, you have 3x equals 72. And divide by 3 on both sides, x equals 24. So that means the first term when I started is 24. Second term I have is 24 plus 2. And the third term I have is 24 plus 4. So you can say first term to 24 plus 2 equals 26. 24 plus 4 equals 28. So make sure you write it first. First term is 24. Second term is 26. And the third term is 28. And therefore, that's how it is done with the consecutive integer, even, odd, or sum. Okay? Number 6, you guys going to try yourself, and please bring back the answer, and we are going to check on it the next day, next time when I meet you. Now, one more question I want to talk to you guys about is number 7. Number 7 is kind of the same idea, but with a little bit twist to it. Okay? I also want you to think about this idea that I'm going to talk to you guys about. Is I want you to think about when you have one iPhone, that's one item, but the value of that iPhone is, let's say, $600. But if you have how many iPhone, you times the price to get the value. So if you have 2 iPhone, you have $1,200. If you have 3 iPhone, you have $1,800. So you need to understand how to get from how many to how much. That's a very important idea. Okay? And then you need to take that how many times the price of one to get to the value of the phone. Okay, so in this case, I want you to think about that when you are doing the problem. So let's read number 7. Example 7 says a home improvement store sells 2 sides of, that should be a can, sorry. Okay, 2 sides of cans of wood stain. A small can sells for $8.95, and a large can sell for $15.95. One day the store sold twice as many, here we go, twice as many large one than the small can. So what is your base? Your base will be your small cans. Okay, and read on one more time. If the total revenue that day for these cans of wood stains were $694.45, how many cans of each size? I told you last sentence usually is the one what they want you to find most of the time, but not always. Okay, so how many cans of each size were sold? Hint, hint, that probably is where you're going to use for your X. Okay, so since we read the first sentence twice as many large can as small can, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say let X equals the number of small cans. Okay, and then since the large was twice as much, right there, twice as much of the small one, so I'm going to say 2x equals the number of large cans. Okay, now the problem is you cannot just add cans together and get the value. But think about what I just said about the iPhone. You take the number how many you have, multiplied by the value you have, then you get how much is each one cost. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, hey, the small can is $8.95 right here. That's the small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, my small amount of cans is going to be $8.95 times how many can I have, plus I'm going to do the value of the large can. The large can is $15.95. So I'm going to do $15.95 times 2x, because that's how many large can I have. And the value of both of them together is going to be $694.45. Now we're going to combine them and then work out the problems.